Okay, so think of your favorite NFL team, right? Think of all the great memories that you've had with them, and then identify one singular play that was the best that you ever saw. Well, chances are that play is on this tier list, because in this video, we are going to be going over every single team's best play over the last 10 years and ranking them on a tier list. Seems simple enough, right? Don't think I need to explain anything more, so let's get straight into it and start with the first team in the Minnesota Vikings and the Minneapolis Miracle. I mean, everyone knows the Minneapolis Miracle, right? The Vikings get a bomb deep and Marcus Williams levels his own teammate and Stephon Diggs walks into the end zone for the touchdown. I mean, just a spectacular play. One that you can't really downgrade for any reasons. It happened in the playoffs. It was incredible. No penalties, anything like that. So for that reason, it's going in S tier as the first play on this list. Then we move on to an interesting play, the Detroit Lions, where we have a 2013 Hail Mary to Calvin Johnson over 3 defenders. Now, for the Lions, this play kind of had no weight behind it, but who cares, right? I mean, it's Calvin Johnson catching a Hail Mary over 3 other human beings, making it look like they don't even belong in the same species as him. I mean, what more can you ask for? It's just football entertainment at its absolute peak, but, you know, I think I'm going to save the A tier for plays that kind of just happened in the Super Bowl and the playoffs, so I guess I'll put it in B tier for now. It could move up, it could move down, but we'll see. Now, here we got a play that you probably won't recognize from the picture. It's the Green Bay Packers' best play of the last 10 years, and it's Aaron Rodgers finding Randall Cobb on a 4th and 8 to beat the Bears and win the division. And you know, actually, on second thought, I think I'm going to pair that with the Bears' best play here, which is Eddie Jackson's interception to beat the Packers in 2018 to clinch the division and make it to the playoffs. So, yeah, you know, if you're a Packers or a Bears fan, then you know just how close-knit those two fan bases are. The brotherly love between the two of them. So I think they deserve to go together. I'm going to put them both in C tier, mainly because the plays weren't, you know, that insane. Probably plays that you don't remember until I reminded you just now. So yeah, I'm going to put them in C tier. Now we move on to the AFC North and the Baltimore Ravens, where we have the Mile High Miracle. The first team where I actually struggled to pick a play because you kind of could go with maybe Jacoby Jones's kickoff return for a touchdown or the Colin Kaepernick incomplete pass on the last play of the Super Bowl, but you know, I decided to go with this one because without this play, those other plays just wouldn't have happened. Joe Flacco stepped up and delivered a God-sent pass to Jacoby Jones to knock off Peyton Manning and the historically great Denver Broncos. Seriously though, plays like this just happen like once a decade, and you can't really take them for granted when they happen. So, for the reason that it happened in the playoffs and basically decided a game, I'm going to put it in S tier. I think it's up there with the Minneapolis Miracle, but, you know, maybe not. I'm going to keep it there for now, though. Next, we have Baker Mayfield. Oh, hold on. What did I put for this? Oh, yeah, right. Okay, this is actually Baker Mayfield's scramble to clinch a playoff spot in 2020 for the Browns. It wasn't anything special. It was just a regular going to the right scramble where he slid on the ground, killed clock, and the Browns made it to the playoffs. A cool play, I guess, for Browns fans, but for anyone else who doesn't give an actual crap about the Browns, then, you know, it is what it is. I'm going in D tier, and, you know, I actually don't think any play is going to get worse than this. And not this next one, because we have the immaculate extension for the Pittsburgh Steelers. This play was special. It was a Ben Roethlisberger pass to Antonio Brown on Christmas Day to knock off the Ravens and take home the division. A beautiful pass to Antonio Brown, who somehow almost broke his arm, extending his ligaments and joints out to just barely get into the end zone to get the game-winning touchdown. It was a great play, it really was, but was it better than Calvin Johnson's Hail Mary? I'm gonna say no, but I do think it's on the same level. I'm gonna put it in B tier, just behind Megatron's Hail Mary. It was great, but I also think that better plays are gonna come. And for the Cincinnati Bengals, I decided to go with a more recent play, which is Von Bell's interception against Patrick Mahomes in the 2021 AFC Championship to punch their ticket to the Super Bowl. And you know, I thought this would actually be a more hard of a decision, but it really wasn't, as before they drafted Joe Burrow, remember the Bengals were a flaming dumpster fire of an organization. So yeah, this play was great, and it could have probably been better if they had gone on to win that Super Bowl, but you know, they didn't. They lost. So I'm gonna put it in B tier behind the Immaculate Extension. I think the other one was more fun because this play wasn't that great of a play itself. It was kind of a routine interception, and more of a Chiefs collapse, so B tier for me. Oh god, from the Houston Texans, we have Tywan Jones' 34-yard reception from Bill Cosby to set up a game-winning field goal to knock off the Bills in the playoffs. Nobody cares. No one cares at all. You know, I said that no one was going to beat Baker Mayfield for the most boring play, but here we are just a few plays later. A D tier as well. I'm going to put it below Baker too, because it didn't even end the game. They had to kick a field goal afterwards, so moving on. Now we have another recent play. We have Travis Etienne's 25-yard run to punctuate the Chargers' collapse in this year's playoffs. Honestly, I wish I could just put that entire Jags-Chargers game on here as a play, but this is kind of the one that I used to summarize all of it. Remember, this play was pretty much just a 1930s formation that was whipped out of nowhere by Doug Peterson, which led to the Chargers' loss. Incredible play. One that I'm sure Jaguars fans will remember forever, and this is a good contender for the best play in their franchise's history. So for all those reasons, I think I'm also going to put it in the top of B tier. I'm going to put it ahead of that, the Bengals interception, because it was just that great of a game overall. So yeah, B tier for me. Now we have the Tennessee Titans, the first team where I actually couldn't decide on a play. I was debating between Khalif Raymond's touchdown against the Ravens and Derrick Henry's 99-yard touchdown against Jacksonville. Ultimately, I decided to go with the 99-yard touchdown because of how ridiculous it was, as well as it was kind of just the birth of Derrick Henry as a superstar in the NFL. And the play was also just cool. He stiff-armed like 9 dudes and got the touchdown, and probably the best play of his career. So for that reason, I'm probably gonna put it in C tier. It wasn't as cool of a play as the Calvin Johnson Hail Mary, and yeah, I actually might just bump this one up, but for now, I'm gonna put it at the top of C tier. You know, I think I put the wrong play here. You know what, actually, give me a minute. There we go. Much better. Look, don't take offense to this, Colts fans, because this play is special. Every once in a lifetime, you'll get a play where all the stars just somehow align and you get a beautiful disaster. God, I still don't know what the plan on this play was to this day. Moving on to the Atlanta Falcons, where it's basically just, you know, pick your Julio play here. Whatever you want goes, but I decided to go with his catch against Luke Kuechly, where he just absolutely mossed him and scored a touchdown. You could go with his 73-yard catch against the Packers in the NFC Championship in 2016, or his Super Bowl toe tap, you know, take your pick. So, you know, call me salty, but I'm going to put it in C tier. It was a cool play, but I did lose a fantasy championship to this play, so it ain't going any higher than C tier, that's for sure. Next up, the Carolina Panthers, another team where I actually struggled to decide on which play to go with. It was either Cam Newton's flip in the end zone for a touchdown where he landed it, or Corey Brown's 86-yard touchdown in the 2015 NFC Championship game. Ultimately, I decided to go with the Corey Brown play, but, you know, it was just kind of you know, one that's pretty forgettable. But in the moment, Panthers fans were probably having a pretty good time with it, but I'm not going higher than C tier because, you know, very forgettable overall. Then we have another very recent play for the Buccaneers, where I decided to go with pretty unanimously Leonard Fournette's 27-yard Super Bowl touchdown run against the Kansas City Chiefs. You know, more or less, this play was kind of just like a deep breath for the Buccaneers fans out there that they were finally going to get another Super Bowl. Still though, they did take a 28-9 lead with this play, so it wasn't all the way over, and the play in of itself wasn't that special, so I think it's going to go right next to that Panthers play in C tier where, you know, the play could have been better, and maybe it would have been higher, but that's where I'm going to put it. And God, you know, rounding out this NFC South division, they had some mediocre plays, as now the Saints are up next, and I looked hard. I swear I did, but I couldn't find any special play at all. The only play that I thought was remotely worthy of this list was this 98-yard Brandon Cooks touchdown, which was kind of cool, but like he literally just caught the ball and ran in a straight line. That was it. So, you know, cool play, I guess, but man, I didn't think anything was gonna get worse than Baker Mayfield's scramble, but at least that one had weight behind it. This was just some week 1 game against the Raiders, which didn't matter at all. So yeah, I'm gonna go D tier, and that's below the Baker Mayfield play. Probably the worst on this list too, but you know, we'll see, I guess. Now we have the Arizona Cardinals, and I went with Larry Fitzgerald's catch against the Green Bay Packers in the 2015 playoffs. As I've said before, my personal favorite playoff game, so I'm probably biased, but in this play, you had Larry Fitzgerald catching a ridiculous pass from Carson Palmer and going all the way down the field, and then he would get a shovel pass for the game winner. So, you know, dare I say, I think this is the first A tier. You can't really ask for much more, an iconic moment in the playoffs, so I think A tier is the perfect spot for Larry. Now we have the San Francisco 49ers, a team that you would think would have some special play, but they really didn't. They missed out on so many opportunities to have that special play, so instead I went with Navarro Bowman's pick 6 in 2013 in the last regular season game in Candlestick Park. A cool play, yeah, a game-winning pick 6 is always great, but you know, with hindsight, if it was the last game in Candlestick, then it would have been so much more special, but they did have the playoff run to go with this, so it could have been so much better. It could have been like A tier, but you know, they did play more games in Candlestick after that, so I'm going to have to go in C tier. And you know, there are teams that benefit from the 49ers' misery, as we have Richard Sherman's tipped pass for the Seattle Seahawks against Michael Crabtree in the 2013 NFC Championship game. Oh man, a play that all Seahawks fans can think of and just get emotional with. You know, they get that feeling of heart pulsing and maybe a tear goes down their face in joy. A play that no one will ever forget, and a play that you really can't tell the entirety of NFL lore without. So for that reason, and the reason that it basically brought the Seahawks a Super Bowl, I'm going to put it in S tier, and maybe, just maybe, the last S tier of this video. But man, this is a strong contender, as we have the Los Angeles Rams with Aaron Donald's sack on Joe Burrow in 2 years ago's Super Bowl. You know, I think this is a play that's going to get better with time. Once Aaron Donald decides to officially hang it up and call it a career, we're going to look back at Aaron Donald as one of the best football players ever, and this play being his crowning achievement. But before this play ages like some fine wine, I think it's belonging right next to Larry Fitzgerald in the A tier, just because of how special of a play it was, and although it basically did end the game, technically it didn't, so I think A tier is pretty perfect for that play. And I guess we're just going to keep going with this defensive streak of plays, as we have Von Miller's strip sack for the Denver Broncos in Super Bowl 50. This play was fantastic, obviously. The problems with it, though, are that Von Miller didn't actually recover the fumble and get the touchdown, so he doesn't get all the glory there, and it also happened in the first quarter. And you know, since it happened in the first quarter and wasn't just game ending on the spot, I don't think I can put it in A tier. Oh, but maybe I can. Actually, yeah, I'm gonna put it in A tier. I think it belongs pretty much right next to Aaron Donald. I mean, come on, those are two of the most iconic Super Bowl plays of the last 10 years. They belong next to each other for being defensive cornerstones of the Super Bowl. And, God, the Raiders, my Raiders, I couldn't find a damn thing. It was either this Chandler Jones lateral stiff arm from whatever the hell Jacoby Myers was doing, or this Reggie Nelson interception to clinch a playoff spot in 2016. But, you know, either play is nothing special. It was a cool play, I guess, but you gotta remember, this game was looking absolutely horrible for the Raiders, and this play kind of just swept all of those mistakes under the rug. So, D tier play for me for sure. And you know, I guess this division just kind of has some struggling teams, as we now have the Los Angeles Chargers, and I swear, I could not find any play that fit this list for the Chargers. So I was kind of just going to go with a cop-out answer and go with a play that clinched a playoff berth, but instead I went with a 2014 play where Malcolm Floyd caught a game-tying touchdown against the 49ers. This game also had a huge comeback, and the Chargers came back to win one of the best Chargers games of the last 10 years for sure, but in terms of a play, relatively mediocre, so I'm kind of gonna put it in D tier. Going right next to the Raiders, the two can be misery buddies down there in the D tier. And rounding off the AFC West, we have the Kansas City Chiefs, where once again, you could pick any Patrick Mahomes insane play from the last 10 years. You know, all those random sidearm, no-look throws, or even his falling down pass in the Super Bowl against the Buccaneers is a good choice here. But instead, in my opinion, I went with Jet Chip Wasp against the 49ers in the Super Bowl, where, remember, the 49ers had the Chiefs' backs to the ropes, and on this third down play, they needed a conversion or else they would lose. And Mahomes somehow found Tyreek Hill wide open to give them new life. life. You know the deal, Damian Williams did Damian Williams stuff, but the play actually didn't result in an immediate score, so for that reason alone, I'm going to put it in B tier. I don't think people are going to be too happy with that, but that's where I stand. Alright, you know, you're probably wondering, why the hell is Tyler Boyd there, right? We already did the Bengals, what are we doing here? Well, this is actually the Buffalo Bills. Their best play of the last 10 years was by Tyler Boyd on the Bengals. Because if you can recall, at one point, the Bills had a 2-decade-long playoff drought, which was immediately ended when Tyler Boyd caught a game-winning touchdown to knock the Ravens out of the playoffs. And God, if you're a Bills fan, if you ever need some extra motivation to just keep going, just watch the Bills players' reaction to the Tyler Boyd touchdown. It's just pure joy. So the play in and of itself was special, and I think I'm gonna put it atop of B tier. I think it actually was just that great. I know, this is a little hypocritical because it was a regular season play, but for both sides, it was absolutely special for the Bills to make the playoffs, and I don't know, the Bengals got a touchdown, which is cool for them, so B tier for me. Ooh, now we got a spicy one. The Miami Miracle. Kenyon Drake getting a walk-off touchdown against the New England Patriots where he turned the corner on Gronk and scored. Now, this is a tricky one because in the Dolphins' sake, it really didn't matter in the grand scheme of things. You know, nothing changed for them like playoff-wise, but a lateral play like this happens in a lot more games than you'd think, and so rarely does it actually work. So for that reason, just because of how rare that this play actually is in just the NFL in general, I am going to put it in A tier, putting it up there with those Super Bowl heroic plays and the Larry Fitzgerald catch. Seems kind of crazy, but you know, I think that play was actually just that bonkers. Now we have a very underrated one for the New York Jets, where we have Eric Decker's game-winning catch in overtime in Week 16 of 2015. Just such a weird game, where the Patriots took the Jets to overtime, won the coin toss, and decided to defer the ball. Unexplainable. And the Jets took full advantage, went right down the field, and scored a touchdown, putting them in the driver's seat to make the playoffs. All the Jets had to do was beat the 7-8 Buffalo Bills, and they were in the playoffs. All you had to do was... And they lost. Classic Jets. So similar to the 49ers play I was talking about earlier, if we actually knew that the Jets were going to make the playoffs, then this play could have been so much more special. But, you know, Jets fans had a brief moment of euphoria, I guess, which is cool, but C tier for me. It could have been better, but we're going to stick in C tier. In the final division we're looking at, we got the Philadelphia Eagles and a classic play with Philly. I was really debating whether to go with the Brandon Graham strip sack or this play, but without Philly happening, then the Brandon Graham strip sack probably wouldn't happen either. I mean, isn't it just impressive that Doug Peterson now has 2 plays on this list basically entirely because of the size of his testicles? On a 4th down play in the Super Bowl before halftime, the motherfucker whips out a reverse sweep pass to the quarterback for a touchdown. I mean, watching this play, your jaw was just below the floor, right? It was ridiculous in the moment and still is ridiculous now, so I think it belongs up there with those other Super Bowl heroic plays. Although it didn't outright end the game, it basically shifted the momentum and gave the Eagles a fighting chance in the Super Bowl. So I think A tier is the perfect tier for Philly. And now we have probably the most controversial play on this list, Odell Beckham's catch against the Cowboys in a regular season game. Now here's the thing. Did it matter in the grand scheme of things? No. But the cultural impact that this play had is unmatched. When Odell made this catch, I mean, it's not even anatomically possible for a human being to make this catch at this angle. But you know what? Hell, Odell did it. And after the catch, I mean, every kid just went out in the yard. You wanted to catch every single ball with one hand and be like Odell. It was such a special catch in the moment. And for that reason, I am going to put it in A tier up there with those special Super Bowl plays, even though it really didn't matter, but I really think it was that unique of a play. And moving down to the final teams in this list, we have Washington with a 76-yard RG3 quarterback run. And you know, just like the Eric Decker catch and the Navarro Bowman interception that I was talking about earlier, this play could have been so much better if we actually knew how special RG3 could have become. But, you know, injuries took all of that from us, and this was the best that he had to offer as a player. So, you know, C tier, but with so much left in the tank for RG3. It's just such a shame. And finally, we have the Dallas Cowboys, and the play kind of got cut off here, but we have Dak Prescott's quarterback run in 2018 versus the Seattle Seahawks. It was a cool play, but, you know, for such a team like the Cowboys with a rich history, you'd think they'd have a better play in the last 10 years than just some quarterback run where Dak Prescott, like, breaks every bone going airborne. But, you know, they kind of don't. It was a cool play, but that playoff run ultimately didn't mean anything. So I'm actually going to go D tier for that play. So yeah, there we have it. There is every single NFL team's best play over the last 10 years ranked in one tier list, and I guess go down in the comments and tell me how wrong I am, because you probably have different opinions. But anyways, if you enjoyed this video, then subscribe and watch this video right here where I ranked all the last 10 seasons of NFL history. It's pretty good, trust me. Anyways, until next time.